our greatest callings in life are often found in the places of our deepest pain. And so through the years, like, I've had some lonely moments. I've had some low moments. Like, where am I going to find other creative people that get what it's like to want to create and have an entrepreneurial spirit?
Is community something we stumble on, or is it something we intentionally create? In a world where creatives often work independently, how do we design spaces that foster connection, collaboration, and authenticity? I'm thrilled to introduce to you today's guest, Joseph Cox, a musician, a music artist, a creative visionary, actor, model, and someone who is deeply passionate about uniting creatives together. Are you ready to get seriously creative?
Let's take a look behind the creative.
Hi, Joseph. How are you?
Hey, Christelle, I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, I love giving these introductions because obviously it sets the tone and the frame for everyone to know you. But who is Joseph Cox in your own words?
I never thought about it like that before.
It's a little weird, right? Hey, bud, can you get the door? Hands are a little full.
Thanks. Of course, I'd be happy to meet with Kathy after the monthly sales projection meeting tomorrow.
What if we don't know what we're supposed to do?
Supposed to do? What do you mean?
Oh, you make us read these books about lost characters and celebrate it. Like, we should be lost too.
Yeah, so Joseph is a son, brother, real life Uncle Joey, to give a nod to Full House, to my nieces and nephews, and also just a passionate creative myself. I love community. I love fostering community in the creative world altogether collectively. So I also create, but I enjoy, I tell people that I'm a people enthusiast or people mobilizer. I love to just build connections and make people feel at home in whatever way that I am meeting and just building a relationship with them.
I love that. And you wear many hats, right? A musician, a music artist. You're even repped by Ursula Weidman, right?
Yep.
And I love that. Yes. I did check out your model photos, okay? I saw them. I saw those headshots. But what inspired all of this? And what really piqued your interest in a creative path?
Yeah, so growing up, I remember singing for the first time. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and it was a Christmas production in just a local church that we attended at the time. And I really just, from what I remember of that moment, appreciated just the creativity, the energy. I know it's like 4 years old, and so the memories are very vague, but that's when the interest really first started. And it was a Christmas solo with myself and my mom. And then as I got older, I just had a natural desire and interest in music, connecting with just lots of different musician teachers throughout school, learned to play the piano. Then that kind of led to some connections in the musical theater world in high school, which eventually piqued my interest in film. I can remember being like 16 and just going to the movie theater by myself because I literally just wanted to sit there and see the artistry of whatever movie I would watch. And also my mom has a pretty creative background herself. Just she always took an interest in music growing up. She used to sing and do different things just in her own time. My dad, not so much. He's not the creative person when it comes to music or acting or anything like that. But I do remember growing up always hearing like the best classic sounding 50s music or throwback to some real old school country like Patsy Cline and just a lot of the greats. And that even to this day has inspired a lot of what I do even in my own songwriting. A lot of what I do in my own musical interests in songwriting is storytelling. So those are a lot of the different odds and ends, things that I kind of grew to have a passion for in the creative space. But primarily I would say the interest really grew from a very young age. And ultimately, I'm really appreciative of having parents that fostered opportunities, didn't know where I would end up with it, but they gave me the opportunity to just check out whatever kind of creative outlets I was interested in.
I mean, that's important. I think I love that, especially we were talking about this beforehand, being a parent, kind of gives you a new set of eyes on how important it is to really shape an identity. I mean, how do you feel like being a creative has helped shape yours?
It has shaped my life in quite a few ways. I think the biggest one, honestly, is just the capacity that it brings to allow me to think outside the box. So, I've moved around a lot growing up. In those cases, being the new person in the room, I think one of the things that being a creative gave me the ability to was to have a conversation really with anybody from any kind of background. I think being a creative meant that I naturally was interested in learning all the different things I could about the people that I was around, or about the music that I might be interested, or this movie director, or whatever the case may be. There were so many things that I took an interest in, which gave me a really great skill set for connecting with people, I think, just overall and growing up. And so not only did it shape my ability to think outside the box when it came to traditional problem solving, especially like in the business world, but I think it also gave me a set of skills that allowed me to connect well with people because I was naturally curious. So
yeah, I mean, speaking of that, you have this array of backgrounds, experiences, and I know a lot of, children that come from households who have had parents who moved around because of work, especially like military kids. Like, I have a lot of family members, like my brother, my cousins, aunts, uncles, they were in the military. They moved so often. And so being from a family where, you've got up and you've had to move, packed up and moved across the country a few times. I can see that, you've managed to make friends from different backgrounds. And now that's led you to form your own creative collective.
It has.
And I'm curious, how has that, or maybe something else, I don't know if there's been other influences that have put that passion for creating these different bonds or relationships into the form of a collective. How has that passion really become something tangible?
Sure. Yeah. So the Artistry Collective is a vision that I think began probably years ago. And I don't know that I would have known it when it started, but I've always had a desire to find my own self connected to a community of other creatives. And through the years, I've lived in some places where I've had tons of creative community. And then I've lived in some places where the creative community was pretty dry. And there wasn't a lot of people that I felt like really understood what it was like to be a creative, to want to make and build and design and just kind of chart your own course, for lack of better words. And so for myself, when I moved to Atlanta in 2020, I got here in February. And then, of course, we all know what happened in March and the world shut down. And I had just moved to a new city. And I'm like, well, this is okay. All right. I guess I'm not going to have friends here for a minute.
It was Atlanta.
It was the best way. Absolutely. And then slowly but surely, we all made it through those 2-ish years or so, and things began to open back up. And really what I found myself longing was a desire to connect with creatives, but still struggling to find a space for that in a city like this. And there's tons of creatives in Atlanta. I mean, we have a huge film industry. There's a huge music presence here. So I know that these pockets exist, but what I ended up finding was there were a lot of workshops. There were a lot of training, different classes you could go to, but there really wasn't much of an opportunity for a space for people to just come and meet and build relationship and have community with one another. And so my desire for creating the Artistry Collective, which will officially launch next year, was really to create a space and a place for people to come and hang out and just be. I think as creatives, sometimes we feel like we've got to be on in every single setting and we have to present the best version of ourselves or bring the resume of all of the work that we've done. But the reality is, like, we're human beings too. And at the end of the day, like, we can create the best things when we have people that we walk in life with in community that don't necessarily have an expectation for us to show up and be the A-list, creator, or have a resume that's a mile long of all of these different works that we've already done. I think a lot of the best creative works are often a result of just being able to build relationship with people.
That's such a great point. And Joseph, I know we've been chatting for a few months, and wow, I think you've even been open about that on social media, about how you've also navigated through imposter syndrome. And you touched on that. And not just that, but mental health challenges too, especially in our community, the creative community.
Yep.
There are so many of us who are navigating mental health challenges. In fact, the data is crazy, right? It is 3 times more likely that you'll find, creatives or professionals within these industries that are suffering with mental health challenges. And according to some data that is being, researched and has been done in the UK, like this is astronomical. We were 68% of them are actually dealing with anxiety and depression. And so in your community that you've began to form, not just on social media, but with the Artistry Collective and beyond that, how have you used your own experience to really navigate around that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. My own life story with mental health definitely has had seasons where I'm on top of the world and seasons where I'm definitely in the valley. And one of the things that's kept me going is just the ability to create. Specifically, music is a big part of that. While a lot of my most recent work has been focused in the film industry, music for me has always been something very personal, and it's been the thing that has helped me get through a lot of really difficult seasons. It's also a great outlet to express the emotions that we often don't have words for. And that's really where it became real to me. So I know from a mental health perspective, like there have been definitely dark seasons I've walked through for sure. And if it wasn't for the ability to just sit down at my piano or to just put in some AirPods and like listen to music to help process those emotions, I don't know where I would be. And I honestly, I'm grateful to God. Like I'm a very big believer in the Lord, and my faith has also been a huge part of walking through those really dark seasons. But I know what it's like to feel alone. I know what it's like to feel like you have something to give to the world, a gift in your creativity, but maybe nobody sees it. And maybe it's overlooked, or maybe you struggle with that imposter syndrome of thinking, I'm never going to be that A-lister, or this is never going to be as great as that artist's music over there. So why do I even try? Why do I even bother? But the reality is, like, we are given gifts to use for a purpose. And I think it's so important that we as creatives work to foster community and relationships with one another, because we can feed off of that. We can encourage one another. We can pick each other up when we're feeling down. We can literally link arms and walk together through whatever it is. And at the end of the day, one of the best things I think about working with creatives and building relationships with other creatives is that they know what it's like to feel all of those things. They know what it's like to create something because you don't have the words to articulate how you're feeling. They also know what it's like to feel like the thing that they're so proud of and put so much work into isn't really going to be something that the rest of the world may like. And they also know the intimidation that comes with putting something out there that's raw and real for the world to decide how they feel about it. And so I think from a mental health perspective, community is huge. We're human beings, like I said a few minutes ago. Like, we're not meant to do this journey alone, whether you're a creative or not a creative. But I think specifically in the creative arts space, walking together with other people is a key factor, and being able to create is a key factor in keeping and maintaining a healthy mental health headspace. And it's interesting. I was reading an article, but walking in community, people are generally those that have community are 2 times more resilient. They come out of failures or life stressing seasons twice as fast as those individuals that don't have community around them. So I think when we look at community and how it impacts us, whether it's a career that is creative or not, whether it's raising a family, whether you lose the job, whether you get the job, whatever it is, like, having people in your corner matters, because life is hard sometimes. And we need people. We need people to walk side by side with.
We sure do. And I so value that, and I appreciate that, because a lot of times you said something so important. We don't always have the words to sit down and have a conversation now, and to put words to feelings, but the vehicle might be that art, that it might be the song, it might be the pen to paper. And I think when you as a leader, I know we talked a little bit about that, but when you as a leader get into a room and you host that conversation and you free someone and you share that with them and let them know, no, your art is the vehicle of vulnerability. And when you get in a room, whether that's with someone else or whether that's alone and by yourself, and you can actually leverage that for freedom, that is when your vehicle of vulnerability becomes power. It's when it becomes transformation, and it's when it frees you. And I love that so much. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I love to think of how our creativity can actually be community, and it can be freedom. And especially with launching that during COVID, I know your collective was probably so valuable at a time when so many people were dealing with their own, onsets of challenges and their own, experiences. Did you find that you, of course, were navigating your own challenges, but some of your people or those within your cohort were dealing with some of those themselves?
Yeah. I mean, any kind of isolation is difficult to go through. But I think as creatives, we are so inspired oftentimes by the people that we're around and by the settings that we're in, that isolation can weigh and feel extra heavy for us. So, when 2023 came around, I started looking for different ways to connect with people and get plugged into the community. I ended up actually finding a great organization, Greenhouse Arts and Media. And I got really well connected with them, started going to some of their speaker series events. And that ultimately led to the idea of, well, why don't we start with just a simple gathering? And so I connected actually at the time with Shun Lee, great guy. Definitely check out some of his nonprofits and everything. But he had such a great organization with Greenhouse out in LA, and they were trying to launch some things here in Atlanta. And so I, being someone who was struggling to find community and out of my own, if I'm vulnerable, out of my own place of pain and loneliness, was like, hey, I'd be more than happy to host a creative coffee gathering, and we just get together and literally no agenda, just host people to come out, have a cup of coffee, have some conversation, give them a place to connect with other people, to leave their loneliness behind, to step out of their houses, to re-engage with community. And the very first time we met, only 2 or 3 people showed up. And at first I was a little bummed. I'm not going to lie. Cause I was like, man, I think there's a desire and a vision for this, but where are the people? And then I had a come to Jesus moment, as I like to say, and reality hit. And it's like, even if 2 people came, you still changed and impacted 2 people's lives that day. And so we met for that first time in October. November rolled around, only a couple people. And I was like, oh, there's probably not a lot of interest in it. And then I just couldn't shake the feeling that we needed to try one more time. And so the last week of December, I connected with Shun Lee, and I was like, hey, if you guys could really push this creative coffee gathering across your socials, let's give it one more shot in January. And it was crazy. January of 2024, there's probably like 40 or 50 people that showed up. And it was the most life-giving and encouraging thing on my side, from someone desiring community and wanting to create this space and feeling like there was a need for it. And then also just to see the joy on people's faces, the amount of emails and texts that I got post the event for just the appreciation of having the creative coffee gathering was huge. And so we've continued that now in partnership with Greenhouse for probably the past year and a half. And that's further also led me to dive into launching the Artistry Collective and looking now toward the future of what are some other things that I can do specifically for our own little Atlanta community and people here to help them get further connected, to help them feel seen, to help them feel a part. Because I know loneliness is a big deal. So being able to put smiles on people's faces just because they had a place to go.
Right.
And to get out is incredibly encouraging and edifying to me. And I think that's a part of my life mission, is to create those places and spaces. And at the end of the day, I have this little mantra that I truly believe that our greatest callings in life are often found in the places of our deepest pain. And I know that for me, community has been up and down for the majority of my life, between moving from place to place and having to leave friends behind and make new ones, to feeling like, where am I going to find other creative people that get what it's like to want to create and have an entrepreneurial spirit. And so through the years, like, I've had some lonely moments. I've had some low moments, but I think the really cool thing that's happening now at this season in life is, instead of letting that be a source of challenge or maybe even depression from a mental health standpoint, turning it around and saying, wait a second, I desire this, which means there's probably a lot of other people out there that know this exact feeling that I'm feeling in this moment. What can I do with the resources that I have? And I would encourage anybody, start where you are, start small. For me, it was connecting with Greenhouse and hosting this creative coffee gathering, which we still do today. And it's been incredible. And so whatever your passion is, whatever that thing is that you're longing for that you don't see having been created or having been started, like, go out and do it. And don't pressure yourself to have it all figured out and like be this big, perfect thing. It can literally be as simple as just getting a cup of coffee with one or two other people and then changing something for the better in your community.
I love that. And I was thinking, what if those 2 or 3 people, and that what started as so small, and what you were thinking was like, oh my goodness, why aren't more people showing up? What if that really was a lot of people wanting to really show up, but having that imposter syndrome, thinking that they weren't good enough to show up, and that actually really was what you just unlocked for them and gave them the power to do. And you know what? You did talk about leadership as a creative. And a lot of times people are creative and think, I'm an independent, you know. Creatives usually don't run in packs, you know, unless there's a reason to. They're working on a project together. But there is a leadership aspect in a creative, and especially in you. So I just wanted to say, I see you. And I see you. And before we continue talking about leadership in creative communities and the leader in you as a creative, I have to tell you something, because I want everyone to unlock their creator and their leadership in themselves. But I have to share with you this hack that is going to help you and your sleep to unlock your most creative brilliance after the break. Did you know that how you sleep makes all the difference of how you wake up, how you work, how you create? And I'm not just talking the time you go to bed, but I mean the type of pillows you sleep on, the shape, the fluff, what it's actually made of. You need to be sleeping on Coop Sleep Goods customizable pillows. I personally sleep on the original adjustable pillow cut out for neck support because I'm a side sleeper. The original maternity adjustable pillow, I'm not pregnant, and the original adjustable body pillow, but because they support my back. Lumbar support is important. But do you know Coop has a new pillow, the orthopedic pillow? It's designed for neck pain relief and cervical support. And this is great if you wake up with crazy neck pain or posture discomfort. It's ergonomic and it provides targeted cervical spinal support to encourage proper alignment and comfort throughout the night. And who doesn't want that? It has customizable spinal alignment. It has 4 adjustable zones with 3 fill chambers and a customizable neck bolster. And this all helps you align your head, your neck, your shoulders, and your spine to help you reduce strain. It supports stability and your breathability, okay? It has memory foam, and I love memory foam. The structure helps you to support yourself through the night, so you don't have to reposition yourself and keep rolling over and over all night. And obviously, it's Coop, so there's easy adjustability all around. So everyone can personalize the pillow as you get older or as your needs change. This makes it an excellent long-term solution for ongoing cervical support and comfort. Can you tell these pillows are designed to solve your sleep problems? Visit coopsleepgoods.com/Dr. Christelle. That's Dr. Christelle for 20% off of your first purchase and get the sleep you need with the pillows you deserve. Joseph, you are a creative leader. You truly are. And I can see that. And I can see how the Artistry Collective has really awakened something in you. And I want to talk to you about that. How has really this leadership aspect of being a creative really helped you as a leader?
Yeah. So, I think leadership is something that I've naturally always gravitated toward from a young age. I think part of that's because my dad, he was in the military. So, grew up learning a lot about leadership at a very early age. And so that naturally followed me through high school, through college. I was always a pretty ambitious person. It also encouraged me to not be afraid to try new things, to not be afraid to go against status quo. And you know what? If you fail, you fail. But if you fly, you fly. And so I think, as you had said a little earlier, like sometimes creatives, we do think that, oh, we're this lone wolf, and we operate independently. But the reality is, we have a lot more impact in our community, I think, than we realize. When you think about some of the major changes in culture over the past decade, past 50 years, past 100 years, like a lot of the changes that we see in society and culture very much so are driven by creatives. Like if you look at people just doing their thing, building, and yes, they thought they were doing something independent and they were just being vulnerable and putting their work out there for the world to see, but their work inspired somebody else to have a different idea. Right. And then that person built on that idea, and the next person and the next person. And then ultimately you see an entire shift over years in culture. And I think that's a great example of like how creatives lead, even if we don't realize it. Right. And at the end of the day, like when you are creating something, you really are leading. You are making something brand new for the very first time. Yeah. So you are literally forging a path. Yes. To where no one has gone before. Yes. No one has walked down this road. No one has paved it. No one has cut through the woods in this particular way. And I think that's part of why community is so valuable for creatives, because oftentimes we don't think we are leaders all the way. We think we're those independent contributors, those independent artists. But the reality is you are a leader because everything you're creating in some way, shape, form, or fashion is being done for the very first time. And not only is it being done for the very first time, but the people that you share it with often can be inspired by it, often can be encouraged by it, even if they don't consider themselves a creative personally. There are so many people in life, which I'm really grateful for. I've had a lot of friends and family support me through the years and encourage me in my good seasons and in my hard seasons, and walked with me in both of those alike. And one of the pieces of feedback that I always get is that like they're inspired or they're encouraged by my pursuit of just stepping outside of my comfort zone, of taking and doing the adventurous thing. Right. And that is encouraging to their own souls.
Probably something that they've wanted to do that they've never done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could be as simple as like, I love to travel. I love to go check out new places. And a big reason for that is because as a creative, like I feel like if you can go and explore, you can learn so much about the world. And that is incredibly influential to the work that you end up creating. And it inspires new ideas and thoughts. A lot of the songwriting that I do is very storytelling in a sense. And a lot of those stories being told in those songs come or have their roots in real places and spaces and people that I've seen or interacted with and stories that I've come to know. And so, I say that to say, like, even just taking an adventure and traveling somewhere. I've had friends that have said, man, I'm actually encouraged to travel on my own for the very first time, just because I've been seeing you go and adventure and try new things. And so, and that's a friend of mine that's not necessarily someone they would consider themselves a creative, but just them getting to live side by side with me and like see me do the things that I do and pursue the adventures that I want to pursue or create the things that I want to create is inspiring enough for them to step out of their own comfort zone in whatever way it is. So there's definitely a huge value to the way that being a creative and thinking of yourself as a leader, as a creative, really has an effect on the people around you.
Absolutely. Well, I love learning about so many different aspects of every creative I've talked to. And one of the creative corporate's favorite thing that we love to learn about, and on the show Behind the Creative, we always ask every creative is about their creative brilliance. And brilliance is defined as this special secret makeup of your design and a special competency or a set of competencies, really, that make you uniquely you. And I want to ask you, Joseph, what would you define as your brilliance? And how would you help someone else to define their own?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, first and foremost, like my faith is very important to me. So I think a huge part of the brilliance that I would say from my creativity really comes from just being inspired by God. I think there's a very real, raw gifting that I'm incredibly grateful for to have, to be able to play piano, to be able to have a voice that can sing. I love to write, and be creative in those ways and act and all these things. And I don't think I would be able to do any of that without it being an innate gifting. And how I was created as a part of who I am. So, God
model.
is, yes.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're
Are we
good.
forgetting about these headshots?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
No, you're good. So yeah, like I think my faith is a big part of that. The Lord for sure. And then at the end of the day too, like the creative brilliance piece, I really, as I get older and grow more in life, I think there's something to be said for creative brilliance being rooted in authenticity. We live in a world that moves 50,000 miles a minute and is fake 99% of the time. So if you can push yourself to be vulnerable, to be real, to be authentic, I know it's scary. I know it's hard. I deal with that in my own imposter syndrome myself, especially in my songwriting. When I think about that though, I cherish the artists and the creatives that are their authentic selves and put the raw realness of what they're experiencing in life in there.
Because who can replicate that?
Who can replicate it? You can't. It can't be replicated. And I think that's an incredible part of brilliance is like, when I think about brilliance, it's something that is unique. It's something that's individualized. It's something that cannot be replicated. And so therefore it has an inherent, immensely greater amount of value than something that can just be duplicated and repeated. So, brilliance for me starts with my faith in God, and then really ends in my own push, I believe, to just be real, to be authentic, and to show up in a tangible and empathetic and an authentic way.
Yeah, I love it. And then take a picture and send it to Ursula Weidman so they can brand you.
Yes.
And call the creative corporate so we can help you. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you one last question, and this is going to help us to really put things into perspective for community, because as you lead this very valuable community with the Artistry Collective, how can you help inspire someone else who may feel like they are battling that imposter syndrome, but yet they still want to own their brilliance? How would you tell them to step outside of that imposter syndrome and to own their full potential?
I would say, as cliche as it may sound, like, take the leap. I know it's scary. I get it. I think in a lot of ways in my own life, like, I am in that place now, and have also been in that place with other lanes and have seen the fruitfulness of just taking the leap and taking the jump. So definitely take the leap. But what I would also say is this: find yourself a friend in your corner. Find yourself those people that are going to show up for you day in and day out, because those are the people that are going to encourage you to do the thing that you are too afraid to do yourself, maybe, that they actually can see inside you. Surround yourself with some people that like know you and know the brilliance that they see. Because I think that's one of the things with imposter syndrome is we don't see the brilliance in ourselves, or we've let the world convince us that it's dim, it's not bright. And one of the most life-giving things for me has been finding those few friends in my corner, friends and family that, no matter hell or high water, as my dad would say, they're going to show up and they're going to be there for you. And they're going to encourage you to not be afraid. They're going to be there for you when you put out the song that maybe never goes anywhere,
Yeah.
just the same way as when you put out the song that wins you that Grammy Award. And those are the people to find in your corner. And that's another reason why you should get out and find community as a
Yeah.
creative.
I
So,
love it.
yeah.
Thank you so much,
Mhm.
Joseph, for speaking with us.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be
I
here.
love it. And I want to ask all of you today, how are you showing up for your creative community? I'm excited that you all got a chance to learn from someone as bright and as brilliant as Joseph Cox today. And I invite all of you to follow him and to follow us on all of our social platforms, where you can learn to design your career and brand your brilliance. We'll see you on our next Behind the Creative.
Let's take a look behind the creative.
This is when I was going to say Joey.
No, you're good.
Joey. Okay.